What's up, guys? Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Friday, November 10th, 2017. I'm Tim Geddes, joined by the Hispanic heartthrob, Andy Cortez.
Good afternoon, Tim. How are you doing, man?
Oh, man. See, I love that you classed up. Everyone was like, you know, Greg, he's always wearing the nice shirts and the ties and stuff. Like, oh, when Tim and Andy do it, they're just schlubs.
No, I'm trying to change the game.
Trying to change the game?
Yeah.
You're looking better than Greg.
Thanks.
You gotta be honest.
Can you give Tim the one just so I can have time to adjust my tie?
It's embarrassing for everybody. Thanks,
man.
Thank you. This is Kind of Funny Games Daily each and every weekday right here on twitch.tv/Kind of Funny Games. We get together and talk about all of the video game news that you need to know, give our opinions and all of that stuff. You can watch it live on Twitch, or you can watch it later at your leisure on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games, or you can listen to it and put it in your ear holes by going to any of your favorite podcast services around the globe, getting it there. It's great. You can go to patreon.com/Kind of Funny Games and support us there. It doesn't really do anything for this show, but hey, it helps. It helps.
You
a
put
lot.
food in my mouth and you put ties around my neck.
Exactly. In a non-sexual way, because that could be a weird thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? None of the asphyxiation. We're not fans of asphyxiation here at Kind of Funny. I'm going to be honest about that. A little bit of housekeeping here.
Speak for yourself.
Party mode is now up on youtube.com/Kind of Funny Games. It is the Freddy Got Fingered episode. Nope, not that.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Five Nights at Freddy's, very different than Freddy Got Fingered. It's a spooky game. And we get spooked.
Patreon has Smash Bros.
Super Smash Brothers for the Wii U. Who dominates in it? I don't know.
Maybe you'll have to watch.
Yeah. And
don't
Extra
spoil
Life.
it for
The reason
people.
Greg is not here today is he is over in Baltimore.
Maryland.
He's in Maryland. Doing the continuation of our Extra Life stream.
Baltimore,
over with
which I have so much respect for as a city.
As a city, yeah. Because you got called out by Cisco.
I just feel kind of bad about it.
He's with the Irrational Passions boys and gals. Is there any gals
there are
involved?
definitely a few gals.
Good.
There.
There's some gals over there.
Which is shocking.
There you go. Yeah, because have you seen those?
Yeah, have you seen those guys?
No. So they are all going to be hanging out, making a lot of money for them big, beautiful kids. It's a beautiful thing. Last I checked, we were at about 80K on Kind of Funny's Team Extra Life situation going on.
You guys are fucking awesome. You know what I didn't know? I didn't know that the Tribe was part of Team Kind of Funny.
What?
Yeah. If you look on the teams, Chive Gaming or something like that is a part of Team Kind of Funny. And they raised I think they raised like $1,000 or $800
That
or
is
something.
amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Well, the goal is still 100K and 20K this weekend. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Oh yeah, we can do
We'll
it.
see. We'll see. Yeah, Joey's over there, Jen's over there, Greg Miller, and Portillo Miller. I don't like calling him Portillo Miller.
Portillo
I don't
Miller.
like that. Yeah.
It's kind of
He's
a
a
little.
fucking dog.
It's a little too rolly off the tongue. Portillo Miller.
Yeah, just don't give your animals your last name. That's fucking weird. All right, now it's time for the Roper Report. There are 3 news stories today.
A baker's dozen.
I knew he was going to do it.
It was a good Kevin impression. I liked it a lot. The first one, the biggest news of the day in the video game world, this happened yesterday after Kind of Funny Games Daily. EA is buying Titanfall developer Respawn for over $400 million. This comes
a lot
from
of
Jason
dollars.
Scjrier over at Kotaku. Mega publisher EA has purchased a new studio, Respawn, the developer of Titanfall. The news comes just weeks after the publisher shuttered Visceral Games. EA said in a press release that the deal is worth $455 million, a number that includes cash, equity, and performance milestone payments. Respawn staff had spent the last few weeks exchanging whispers about a potential sale, 2 sources said, although there was no concrete news until the studio informed employees about the deal in a meeting today. Earlier this week, one source with access to some of Respawn's forthcoming plans sent us what they said was a version of the acquisition contract, which reveals that EA is paying over $400 million for the Los Angeles-based studio. According to various documents sent by that source, EA outbid the South Korean publisher Nexon, which publishes the Titanfall mobile game, and had also made an offer to buy Respawn. EA had 30 days to match the offer, which they chose to do. Respawn will also receive bonuses tied to Metacritic scores for both its upcoming Star Wars game and the unannounced Titanfall 3, according to that documentation.
Ooh, yay. Get another Titanfall.
Founded in 2010 by Call of Duty designers Jason West and Vince Zampella, Respawn won hearts with its first game, Titanfall, released in 2014 as an Xbox exclusive. The second entry in the futuristic first-person shooter series, Titanfall 2, came out last fall for multiple platforms, but didn't quite make sales waves, perhaps because EA released it smack in the middle of Call of Duty and the publisher's other big shooter, Battlefield. Earlier last year, EA announced that it had contracted Respawn to make a Star Wars action game in addition to the Battlefront series and what was then planned as a Star Wars action adventure from Visceral, which has since been canceled. Respawn's also developing the third Titanfall and a virtual reality game for Oculus. Respawn, based in Los Angeles, has been independent until now. There's a couple little follow-ups here I want to throw out there before we talk about it. Jason, on his Twitter, put out a little sequence of events. 1. Nexon makes offer for Respawn per documentation sent to Kotaku. 2. EA has first right of refusal per documentation and can make an offer. 3. EA shuts down Visceral Games. 4. EA announces that it has bought Respawn.
Right.
What are your thoughts, Andy?
There was a really interesting tweet from Jonathan Cooper, who was an animator at Naughty Dog. And he tweets out, "Word on the street is that the Respawn Star Wars game was instrumental in the Visceral closure because it looks so much better by comparison despite a much shorter development." And so he's kind of seeing like the fucking stars are aligning right now. Like he sort of sees that this one thing led to another. That they saw that Respawn's game looked so much better and that was their reason for closing Visceral Games. Like that was sort of like that added into a reason for them to close Visceral. I'm excited for the workers at Respawn who sort of have what seems to be a pretty decent like amount of job security now. You're always game development's always scary because you don't know when your studio is going to close down and when your life is on hold and you have to tell your families that like shit, I don't know what we're going to do next. So now they have what it seems to be like some security. The Star Wars stuff is really cool. I'm really excited we're getting another Titanfall. I think that's one of my favorite campaigns in any first person shooter. I really enjoyed that game. Yeah, I guess we're getting another Star Wars, and it seems like it's really good, and the progress that's being made is awesome on it. Yeah, that's really all. That's all I can think about it right now.
I mean, you're making a lot of good points in terms of the pros of this situation because we already knew that there was going to be a Star Wars game from Respawn, and we didn't know that there was going to be a Titanfall 3. I don't think that was really that big of a question, but it was more of a question of when. And I still think that that's kind of far out. I'm pretty sure
it was kind of a question to me. Like I feel like the Titanfall 3 thing was assumed by a lot of people, but if at any moment they said, we're not doing another Titanfall, would anybody have really been surprised?
I don't know. I think that I would have been surprised if people were expecting a Titanfall next year. But in terms of like, 2-3 years from now, I feel once everything comes in waves, right? And you see it with Call of Duty. We've seen it with Assassin's Creed where it kind of went away for a little bit and came back. With Battlefield and Call of Duty doing this kind of back and forth that they have been the last couple of years. And with now the Call of Duty sales numbers coming out and them going back to World War II seeming to be a huge success compared to their last couple futuristic outings, I think that the biggest enemy of Titanfall was EA itself putting it up against Call of Duty and Battlefield. So kind of maybe redesigning where it comes out in the year, I think could have really helped the game. And I think that it was critically acclaimed enough, and it wasn't a flop. That's the thing, is it only didn't sell well in comparison to these other franchises, right? It didn't perform well for a holiday title. It would have performed great for a different placement in the year, and I think that it would have even done better than it did.
Well, I also think they had so much momentum from Titanfall 1 that they think, wow, it's sort of like an Uncharted or Mass Effect sort of situation where like, yeah, part 1 didn't sell super great. It sold well enough. But it had such high scores and such high reviews. We think part 2 is really going to knock it out of the park. Well, and they just released it in the worst time ever. And I think that's sort of their scapegoat for it.
In addition to that, there's the multi-platform thing, right? Like going from exclusive to multi-plat is huge, and that should add a lot of sales juice. But when it's up against so many other shooters, whether they're samey or not, you're going to have a lot of issues
moist
there,
sales
right?
juice. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. But then there's the other side of it, the cons to all of this, where it's like, okay, cool. Did this have any direct effect on Visceral? We don't know. Maybe not. It sounds like when you look at that sequence of events, it seems pretty coincidental, right? Like there has to be like some reason for that. I'm so sad that we're not getting that Visceral game. And honestly, it sucks because 2-3 years ago, it must have been 3. No, it must have been 2. It was 2 years ago at E3 when EA had its really shitty E3 press conference. And no, that was Ubisoft's.
The one where they had the soccer player on stage. They had Pele come up?
Yeah. But the one where they showed the difference Star Wars games they were working on, or they at least talked about them. Like this is before Battlefront was even really being shown, and it was all just like behind the scenes things, or just like mocap. And they showed Respawn's game, and it was just mocap action. And then we saw that like 3-second glimpse of what Visceral's game was, which looked like an Uncharted Star Wars game, and how exciting that was. That seemed so much further along than the Respawn one. So it's interesting that you're saying that the Naughty Dog guy was saying the opposite.
Those are the murmurs sort of throughout the industry.
Yeah, but then it's also interesting though, because it's like you'd think that one shouldn't cannibalize the other because both were being made. Yeah, it's not like, oh,
I had it wrong. To me, before I knew about Respawn's Star Wars game, because I knew that they were making one, I just didn't know to what extent. I didn't know how far along it was or anything like that. This is before I even read that tweet from Jonathan Cooper, and my thought was Visceral Games shuts down. Respawn Games is going to be working on the Star Wars game. I thought it was sort of like we're shutting
Passing
you down,
the torch.
yeah, sort of thing. And I guess that wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, no, the Respawn game had been announced at the same time the other ones were.
I guess it just confuses me because you have a first-person shooter game already, Battlefront, Star Wars themed. Visceral's was going to be sort of this Uncharted action-adventure story. It seemed like it was going to be pretty linear. I don't know if it was going to be like this big open world thing with all these choices and dialogue options and things like that. It seems like it was going to be sort of straight, narrow path or whatever. But now Respawn's game has me totally confused because now it's like, what game are they working on, and how far could it differ from Visceral's game?
Very little was said about the game back then, but from my understanding, how I took it and interpreted it was there's Battlefront for the first person. There is the Visceral game for the action adventure, which is story-based, narrative-based, big set pieces, all of
Lots
that.
of cutscenes and stuff.
And then Respawn's game was going to be more action-based. So I kind of got a Force Unleashed type of vibe. But again, that was totally based off nothing, but just seeing the mocap and what they were doing, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And they had been describing it as an action game as opposed to action adventure. And I know that that's all just kind of like, what the fuck does any of this mean?
Watto's Junkyard Adventure. He's just going to be selling parts and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's exciting. We got some questions here. Joey S says, I wonder if EA's handling of the Titanfall franchise was done purposefully to force Respawn Entertainment into a position to be bought. The release timeline and marketing for Titanfall 2 made no sense to me. It was as if EA wanted the game to underperform.
I don't know. That seems a little kind of fucking tinfoil hatty to me.
Exactly. It's a little too looking back at the history of what happened and making things fit the story of what's happening now. Because, yeah, that totally does line up. That doesn't really make sense with how business works.
Right.
You don't shoot yourself in the foot to, benefit yourself later when you're not guaranteeing that that's going to land. You know what I mean? Like, there's way too many things that had to happen. I think that Nexon, the mobile company, making that offer is just one of those things that put them in EA in a situation where, like, shit, we have 30 days. We have to figure this out. Right. What's more interesting to me is the idea of Respawn. Like, Respawn, like, I remember when we were at IGN, Respawn came on up at noon episode 2, I'm pretty sure, or if not episode 1, to talk to Greg about, kind of leaving Call of Duty and, kind of having their whole thing with Activision and it being really bad.
Yeah,
like
starting this new venture sort of thing.
And then for them to now, like, and Respawn, like a new opportunity. And then for them to go from Activision to EA was already kind of like, oh, that's an interesting move. And now for them to be owned by them, it's like, okay. But then again, things change, man. It's been years.
Well, you also don't know how much. You also don't know, like, we don't know all the details of the deal because it could be that they may have been bought under the circumstances that, hey, we want a lot of freedom. You've seen the way our game performed Metacritic-wise. Titanfall 2 was a big critical success. So you know that we can make a good game. How about you back off and you let us do what we want to do? And obviously you'll have our property or whatever, but we're still in control of the sort of creative stuff about it. So.
Well, what's also, I think, very telling is the fact that part of this deal includes the whole Metacritic bonuses and stuff like that. That is awesome. It is, there's pros and cons to every.
That's so weird. These remind me of the fucking like sports contracts where like, oh, you get a bonus if you make like the all defensive team. Like I never thought that would be an actual video game thing in the video game world, but I don't know, it's really cool and interesting.
It is, and there's pros and cons to it all because that puts so much pressure on the game devs to I mean, it's not just make a good game. That's a good thing, right? Like them having pressure and incentive to make the game better and to think about things like microtransactions and how that's going to affect the Metacritic score and all of this stuff. That is very, very important. The other side of it, though, is who's giving those reviews. It's the game journalists. It's the critics out there. It's not technically us because we don't give scores, but it's people like us. And that puts a lot of pressure on marketing teams and the game devs to please the marketing teams, to please the game journalists. And it's just all this extra shit that really muddles the message as you go through. And that can get really complicated and hard. And a really good game, if it has a bad marketing team or the wrong type of marketing, can really affect, or PR even, can affect those scores. And then all the crunch time and all of this, it just goes out the window.
Right.
Whatever. Every step you take in one direction pulls you away from somewhere else. So
every step you take, every move you make, Kevin.
I'll be watching you. That PR guy says, regarding EA's acquisition of Respawn, I don't expect their situation to be any better than Visceral's. EA has already shown it doesn't respect them after it sent Titanfall 2 out to die between Battlefield and Call of Duty, just so EA could try to strangle Call of Duty sales under the combined effort of those two games. If Respawn has been only a sidearm in EA's arsenal up till now, there's no reason to expect that studio won't see the same fate as Visceral, but not before Respawn's games become littered with the DLC and microtransactions that studio was once proud to avoid. This is even shittier for people from Visceral, as the timeline makes it seem like Respawn was born from the death of that studio. Business continues to look grim in the video game industry. There's a lot of talk.
Man.
I mean, and it's like, what's up? Yeah, but it's like that's a real perspective, you know. And there's I think a lot of people jumping to the conclusion, with good reason, that this could be a very bad sign for Respawn in the future. You look at EA's history, and now with Visceral, with Maxis, with how they're treating BioWare, there's a history of them shutting studios down or kind of being like, well, that didn't work, we're going to take away your
Origin.
power. Yeah, exactly. And I also think, though, it's from another perspective, this is different than Visceral because they're obviously investing in this. And we'll see if they do allow Respawn to make good games and to have them believe in it. And obviously with these Metacritic bonuses, like they are trying to at least put them down a path to success towards making quality games that are critically acclaimed. And I think that their hand was forced because of the mobile company coming in and putting a time limit on it. But in addition to that, all these signs show that they understand that Titanfall 2 was a beloved game. And if they can keep that up and put the games out at better times, and also it's Star Wars, so that's definitely going to help. I don't know if it's going to be as grim and dark a future for Respawn as people are making it out to be right now.
I hope not. And the one thing that sort of gives me hope is a statement that Peter Moore said about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, when there were a lot of rumors swirling about a Mass Effect trilogy remaster. And he said, if we're going to do this, we want to do it right. We don't just want to put a remaster out there to make money. Like, we'd rather have our teams and we'd rather have our efforts be put into like new franchises and new IP and things like that. Now, was that just a way to sort of divert the attention away from, like, maybe we want a new IP loaded with microtransactions, or maybe he just really cares about making a quality product and not rehashing things. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that sort of gave me hope, saying like, well, we could do a Mass Effect trilogy remaster and it would probably make us a lot of money, but we'd rather focus our efforts on new IP. That gives me hope that it isn't like 100% all about the money, that they want to make good franchises, and maybe buying Respawn is their way to have a franchise of their own, like under their own umbrella that's actually theirs. Yeah. I saw a tweet from Patrick Klepek who said Microsoft should have bought Respawn.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that really would have, because I know that Phil Spencer came out saying like he wants to buy they want to buy studios. Yeah. And that would have been interesting.
It would have, but at the same time, I mean, Titanfall was already an Xbox exclusive, and not to say that didn't work out. But it definitely didn't have as big of an impact as I'm sure Microsoft wanted it to. Although that was a different time. Titanfall was kind of the first killer app for the Xbox One. And it was the first kind of real next gen.
Dude, that was like, this is next gen.
Exactly.
Like, holy
I
shit,
remember
running on walls.
when it was first shown, and it was IGN's game of the show for E3, and it was a big deal. Where there was buzz around that game in the same type of way that there's buzz around Skyrim and things like that. So it's like, oh shit, for a new IP to come out from the makers of Call of Duty to have this much excitement and you know, shit going into it. But then it did well, but I think it had such a botched launch with the online not working perfectly and there not being that much, it being very content light. Like that was one of the first games to launch the whole content light discussion. This goes to a question here from DHCanada. With the announcement of a new entry in the Titanfall franchise, do you believe a single player story will still be in the game, or will they go back to multiplayer only?
I think you will still see a single player story.
Absolutely.
And it's because of how much success they had with part 2.
And when it comes to the critical acclaim of that game,
yeah.
that came from the single player. And I think that EA understands that it needs the single player campaign in addition to a robust multiplayer suite in order to have the game have legs and also have that initial momentum of positive buzz and people being enraptured by the experience of playing whatever the campaign is.
Will we get loot boxes?
Probably. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. Maybe not. It's me and Greg talk a lot on this show about how right now we are in the worst part of the loot crate situation where everyone's still trying to figure it out. Hopefully by the time Titanfall 3 comes out, it'll be years down the line and that will be figured out. Maybe there'll be some version of it, but hopefully by then it'll be something that's not nasty and dirty.
Right.
You know, it'll be something
doesn't
that's
feel
like,
scummy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a good point.
All right. Story number 2. This comes from IGN. It's about Death Stranding gameplay.
Oh.
Famed filmmaker Guillermo del Toro, who's working with Hideo Kojima on Death Stranding, briefly spoke to IGN about Kojima Productions' upcoming title, actual gameplay of which he expects to see in the not-too-distant future. Quote, "It's been great as a friendship, and it's been great as a learning experience," Del Toro said of working with Kojima in a recent interview. "In Death Stranding, I'm just a puppet. I don't know what he's going to make me do. He's supposedly going to show me the gameplay at some point in the next couple of weeks." Prior to working with Kojima on Death Stranding, Del Toro aided in the creation of PT, the playable teaser for what would have become Silent Hills.
Rest in peace.
"My most rewarding experience was to know him and help him realize PT, which never happened on Silent Hills," he said. The filmmaker also worked on a game at THQ called Insane, which was another one of Del Toro's projects that never saw the light of day. Del Toro called it a, quote, "very good learning experience," and said it was really defining for me. Del Toro believes they were a little ahead of the curve with Insane. I've seen some of our concepts crop out in other games, and I don't know if that's an accident or if it's a coincidence or what it is, but it's very nice to see that what we were going to try was doable," he said. Cool dude, man.
He's just down to clown, right?
Yeah, he's down to clown. He has visions. He wants things to be good. I appreciate that. Couple weeks away from Death Stranding gameplay. Now,
well, that he'll see.
That he'll see.
That he'll see.
My question is there translation errors in this? Like, because if he's seeing it, does that mean other people are seeing it? The Game Awards right around the corner.
Oh, shit.
PSX.
You know Keely's begging for it.
And you know that Keely's begging for it.
Right.
So, I don't know.
That's a great question, dude.
Yeah. Will it be shown? I don't necessarily think so. Especially going off this story, nothing here actually says that we should be excited for that. But gameplay exists, and if it exists, why not show it?
I do think that Kojima's the type that to want to show whatever he can at every moment because he knows it's fucking cool and he knows it's going to create buzz. And I guess he wants to also show Sony like this wasn't a bad investment. Like,
yeah.
We're going to kill it with this game.
And it'll bring the hype.
That's interesting, man. I've totally forgot about PSX coming up.
Yeah.
Because my initial thought was like, we're not going to see shit coming from PSX because we already saw so much at Paris Games Week.
Yep. I mean, all signs are pointing to PSX being very light in terms of announcements and content. They've even said that because of Paris Games Week, like, yo, that was the second half of E3.
Right.
PSX is just a smaller thing. However, they've already announced Dreams is coming. Like, they showed the teaser for Dreams at PSX. So there will be game announcements. There will be new things shown. Or maybe not game announcements, but there will be announcements about games.
Right. The Game Awards, though, is something that Keely's probably in every developer's emails. Like, yo, what do you want to show?
And honestly,
let's blow this up.
A lot of people hate on the Game Awards, but
I don't. I love it.
I love it too. And Keely does a very good job of getting as many big exclusives as he can at a time of year where people are not typically making those huge reveals. Like we see it at E3, right? And like now PSX happens and Nintendo has its directs. But the Game Awards has always had at least a big like, oh shit. And not every year is the biggest announcement. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, the Batman Telltale game or Guardians Telltale game, like things like that.
Right.
But then that's also the place that we get to see like big CG trailers to Death Stranding. Or The Last of Us Part 1 was announced at the Game Awards. Like that's huge. And Nintendo usually has something, and we saw a big Breath of the Wild blowout. I guess it was last year, and before that, they've had some bummers. I remember Donkey Kong. They're teasing a huge announcement, and it was that Cranky Kong's playable in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. It's like, you fucking assholes. But I'm excited. This year could be big because Nintendo has a lot going for it, so there could be a big thing there. Especially, we're about to hit a point where Nintendo's Switch lineup that we had known about since the Switch kind of reveal is up. Mario Odyssey's out. Xenoblade Chronicles is about to be out in December.
What's next?
The Game Awards is going to be a great time to be like, and now get hyped for this.
Right.
And then Death Stranding, like, probably there'll be something.
I'm really excited for the Game Awards.
Very soon, very soon. Third story. This comes from my boy, Reggie Fils-Aimé.
I like
in
him.
an interview with CNN. On how the Wii U failure has led to the success of the Nintendo Switch. Quote, "We worked hard for the Nintendo Switch to make it crystal clear what the proposition is. It's a home system that you can take on the go, play anywhere with anyone, and that's resonating. The Nintendo Switch, part portable device, part TV Link console, has been a big hit since its March release. Nintendo now expects to sell 14 million of the devices for the year ending March 2018, up from its prior estimate of 10 million. For comparison, the Wii U sold just 13 million total since its launch in 2012. It was discontinued earlier this year. But overall, the incentive for consumers to buy a Wii U wasn't obvious. The console also didn't have a consistent flow of new games supporting the system. We've addressed that with the Nintendo Switch," Fils-Aimé said. "Having a steady pace of new launches is critical. The Switch includes games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Another issue with the Wii U was that it didn't have strong support from Nintendo's third-party partners. Whether it's the big companies like Electronic Arts or whether it's the smaller independent developer, we need those companies to create content to support us. We have that now with the Nintendo Switch," he said. On the NES and SNES Classic, while Fils-Aimé would not disclose whether consumers will see more miniaturized versions of gaming consoles in the future, he said, quote, "Certainly, we recognize that our consumers love all of this great legacy content." So jumping off from that, the one thing that really stands out to me as kind of like a, that seems a little fishy, is whether it's big companies like Electronic Arts. Electronic Arts is like the one company that's not really supporting the Switch.
They're not playing ball.
Like they played ball with FIFA, but with a half-assed attempt, right? If you were to name someone like Bethesda, I think that would have made a bit more sense because Bethesda really is investing.
Maybe he's hinting at something
in the Switch. Maybe. But my theory on it is it's more of an optic thing. It's more of a, EA is the big name. We're going to say that just so that people, like, random ass people reading it think that they're also being
Those two
involved.
letters are recognizable together.
Exactly. Because Bethesda has been really investing. Ubisoft did with Mario plus Rabbids, and they just announced that they're going to work on more titles in 2018. And then the indie developers, they've kind of migrated from Vita over to Switch, so we've seen a lot of success there. In terms of him talking about this legacy content, that's interesting because that hints at both a virtual console and a potential Game Boy Mini or N64 Mini. We'll see, but that's also just kind of lip service.
Just give us Virtual Console, man.
Yes, it's time. It's time.
I don't want to be playing those on a separate thing. I want to have... Oh, you know what also? Here's another one of my gripes.
Drop it on me, Andy.
With the fucking home screen on the Switch. Let me have multiple titles, not just a row, because I have enough software on there that I have to go to all software to see everything. I don't like that. Just let me do like more grids,
There's a lot of OS stuff on the Switch that I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's about time we get something new. Why is there a themes option? And there's only 2 themes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's to come.
Yeah.
I mean, we just got Hulu.
Yeah. That whole Hulu thing's interesting too. Like, I just don't understand how there's a market out there of people that are like, you know what I want on my Switch? Netflix and YouTube and Hulu. Why?
Really? You don't feel that?
What? Okay. I'm getting upset about
On
this.
the go.
But I have my phone.
There's a phone, there's tablets, there's laptops. And for people out there that are like, oh man, like that's so privileged. Blah, blah. What are you talking about? It's a fucking cell phone. And in what scenario, if you don't have money to do things, do you have your Switch that can have an internet connection that you're watching like shit on the go? And why would you use something with a not amazing battery?
It's got a kickstand.
It does have a kickstand.
He got you.
That's been a great show, guys. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
But do you see what I'm saying? Like, I just don't understand. Like, I get that people want to have like options, but I would never, ever be like, you know what? I'm gonna watch this on a screen that's inferior to.
Well, maybe
the
they're.
other screens.
Maybe they're using it docked. You never know. I mean, the Switch. Maybe not everybody has a PS4 or an Xbox One, and like, it's good for a dock situation where you can be playing games, switch over to Hulu.
That's true.
I use my Switch docked all the time, and I feel like I'm in the minority.
I use my Switch docked all the time too, but it's just like at this point, if Hulu is something that interests you, you probably have something else that can play Hulu on the TV.
Sure.
And it's probably going to do it better than the Nintendo Switch is going to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we got it though. I don't see why you're so mad. We got an app.
We got it. That's fine. That's totally fine. It's what upsets me is that people like are
clamoring for it.
We're acting like Nintendo not having it was an issue. It's like, you don't even have these apps at launch. Who the fuck cares about these apps? You have these apps.
Give me an email reader. Give me Microsoft Exchange.
You're part of the fucking
I
problem.
want
Andy.
Outlook.
And then this comes from Wall Street Journal. It's kind of a follow-up to the Reggie story.
I've heard of them.
Nintendo plans to pick up the production pace for its hit Switch game console next year. People with direct knowledge of the matter said, showing the company's deepening confidence in the success of the device. The Kyoto-based company is sketching out a plan to make 25 to 30 million units of the Switch in its next fiscal year, which begins April 2018, and has begun informing business partners about it, the people said. They said the plan is still in its early stages and Nintendo could aim higher depending. For reference, the 3DS sold right over 31 million units during its with total 2 years on the market. So the Switch selling the forecasted 14 this year and selling somewhere between 25 and 30 next year would put it in the 40 million ballpark in the same time frame. That is crazy.
That's a lot.
That it'd be selling on the rate of a portable system.
What's the PS4 at?
PS4
60?
Yeah, it's at 60 something at this point. PS4's peak year was 20 million.
Okay.
So this would be putting this on pace to sell more, like substantially more, like a quarter more at least than the PS4 in a year.
I don't know. They're treating it like money-wise, it's not handheld. Like it's
more
console.
expensive.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is like putting it up against the 3DS, like there's still a lot more money being made from that. These are crazy ass numbers, and we'll see where it all nets out. But I mean, if they actually hit that 14 million this year, we'll see.
Good for them. Toss some money my way, you know?
I know what you mean.
I talk about it
I
enough.
know what you mean. So this comes from Drafting Dave, Andy.
Drafting Dave. I'm going to pretend his name is Drifting Dave.
Drifting Dave. He says, I'm so glad you guys are supporting Extra Life. It honestly has a tangible impact on so many patients' health and morale. Just the other day, I was fortunate enough to meet a pediatric patient who's benefiting from Extra Life. We'll call her Stacy.
Hi, Stacy.
Stacy has been hospitalized for nearly 2 months now. Her parents spend as much time with her as they can, but live 4 hours away and both work. Through Extra Life, Stacy's able to stay connected with her friends and family, playing the games they love as if she was back at home. While I was doing my rounds, she saw my Ni no Kuni sticker on my clipboard and beckoned me over. I went to her bedside and leaned over as she whispered in my ear, Ni no Kuni 2 is just around the corner. But I wanted to know what's out in stores today. Where would I go?
The official list of upcoming... Oh, you have to do that, and I read that.
Yeah.
The official list of upcoming software across each and every platform as listed by the Kind of Funny Games Daily Show hosts each and every weekday. Geostorm Podcast.
So then
Wheel
there's a
spin.
follow-up. That is a real story, except for the end part. But yeah, so
Oh,
Extra
okay.
Life is still a great thing. He's not being insensitive. He's a
Oh,
good
okay. Yeah, I was like, where's this going? And I'm glad it's real. I'm glad it's real.
No, Extra Life is a beautiful thing. All right, so out today, a whole bunch of shit. Snipper Clips Plus, Cut It Out Together, physical release on the
Cut it
Nintendo
out.
Switch. Doom on the Nintendo Switch. People are really liking
That's
that
out
one.
already? Mm-hmm. I thought that was still like, oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Getting really good reviews, which is kind of weird.
Why?
Because it's getting reviewed on the Switch better than it got reviewed on the other consoles. And I don't know.
They added more monsters. More guns.
More graphics.
Yeah, more graphics, dude. A lot more 3D graphics for sure.
Mario Party, the top 100, comes out on 3DS. What a goddamn shame.
What a fucking disaster. It could have been so cool. Like, imagine the party mode possibilities.
I know. Trust me, I'm still trying to make it work. It's just it's very hard to capture 3DS footage.
Yeah, you need that fucking little thing.
Yeah. I'm thinking about calling IGN and asking them if we can borrow their capture device to do a
dude,
fucking party mode.
hey, I happen to live with a few people that work at IGN.
That's true. That's true.
I can get them to steal it.
I feel like that might not be advisable.
Oh, no.
But what I want to do is, so it's the top 100 mini games. I want to do a freaking marathon party mode
Of all 100?
Where the four of us sit and we play through all 100 mini games to crown a winner.
Fucking shit. It's going to get to a point where one person has 160 and the next person's 122. It's like, there's no way.
I don't know, man. Mario Party.
It's like when we would play 100-man stock. And we're like, oh, this is going to be so fun.
Point that it's
and by the time, you're up like...
I think it's different with this, though.
You have
every
like
game's
40
so
left.
random.
The other guy has like 10. It's like, oh.
Like, I don't think that, like, Nick would be the clear loser. But besides that, I don't think.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Football Manager 2018 comes out on PC, Linux, and Mac. Need for Speed Payback comes out on Xbox
God, I have
One,
Linux.
PS4.
Been waiting for Football Manager.
Yeah, exactly. Need for Speed Payback on Xbox One, PS4, and PC. Which did you
sad,
see the reviews of this?
I've heard.
They're
I haven't seen the
fucking
reviews.
Bad, like really bad.
No,
like worse than I'd expect from a bad Need for Speed game. Sonic Forces comes out on PS4. I don't know if it's for some reason this says just PS4.
I saw Game Grumps playing that.
Yeah, dude, it's very. I mean,
just hit A.
There's a question later. There's a question later.
Okay.
Whoopo comes out on PS4.
Whoopo!
Don't know what the fuck Whoopo
I'm
is.
excited though.
Cat Quest comes out on Switch, and the Breath of the Wild Champion Amiibos for Daruk, Mifa, Rivali, and Urbosa come out today. You interested in getting any of those?
The Amiibo?
Little cutie pies?
Yeah, man.
Which one?
Absolutely.
Mifa? You want some of that Mifa love?
I want Mifa, and I want Rivali. Because he's like a piece of shit, but like...
He's a badass Falco, dude.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit, though. But it's like, I want him to like me.
I get it.
Like, if he was in our circles, I'd be like, man, fuck that guy. But if he ever told me a compliment, I'd be like, that's cool.
Man, Rivali,
feel good
dude.
about myself.
He's
Yeah.
my dude. Deals of the daytime. This comes from Glide. First off, here's a deals of the day. If you're looking for a micro SD card for your Switch, Best Buy has a SanDisk Ultra Plus 128 gigabyte card on sale right now for $30.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a good deal. That's
Fucking
a good deal.
jump on that,
If
dude.
you're like me and love having a console full of digital games, this is a great pickup. So you can go check that out on Best Buy right now.
I bought one for like 80, and I thought that was a good deal.
This leads me to a question. Why do gamers so often keep a console full of games that they'll never play again? When I bought my PS4, I put a 2 terabyte hard drive in it so I wouldn't have to think about it again, and I think it's been a great investment. But I really think about it, why do I need to have like a terabyte of games that I don't plan on playing around? I know we all hate deleting games, but I have no idea why that is. Are we all just crazy? Love what you do and keep fucking that chicken.
It's like a hoarding sort of mentality,
Yeah.
and I think it looks cool. Like, I think having a lot of games is like, I could play whatever I want, but I'm still just going to play one game of NBA 2K because I only have 40 free minutes tonight.
I think it's all just a mental thing. It's just like you want it all to be available, even if you're not going to actually do it. And it's also just one of those weird bullshit life things where the moment you delete it, the next time you open it up is going to be the moment you need to play it.
Right.
You know, and that's so sad. But I also just think that where we're at now with hard drive costs, things are so cheap that it's not that big of an issue. What gets shitty is when you fill up that 2 terabytes and then you're like, well, crap. But that's a lot of terabytes. That's a lot of information. That holds a bunch of games, even big ones.
Yeah, I have a Pro right now, so I'm at 1 terabyte. And
Is the Pro only one?
yeah, Pro's one.
So the Pro's one.
Because the standard ones are 500.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
the Xbox One S.
I'm sure you can't.
is
Yeah, I
2
mean,
terabyte.
you may be able to get. Yeah, you might be able to get 2 or whatever, but the one that I have is 1.
Got it.
And I just got to a point where like I need to start deleting stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the games. It's like which game would I like to just open up when I'm back home for Thanksgiving or Christmas and my nephews are around.
Yeah.
So my nephew like kind of dug Fez when he started playing it. So I was like, I'll leave Fez on there. Overcooked, we had a fun time playing 2v2 back home. I might leave that on
Those
there.
games also aren't gonna like there's
Sure,
no real reason
yeah.
to delete
But then
them.
I saw like Wolfenstein 1. I was like, I can delete that.
Like Uncharted
Part 2's
4,
already out.
You can delete that.
Totally.
You know?
Never going to play that again.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you did, you can take the time to download it and
Sure.
like plan for that.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to be like, I'm just going to pop in again.
I'd say like most
Chapter 3.
most campaign games are the ones that I would delete, unless it was a game that I was just wanting to open up to show off to somebody how cool games are now.
Yeah.
Because people go so long, like people that don't really have their fucking finger on the pulse of the gaming industry, you know? And I like showing them like, oh, you've never heard of Uncharted? Check out this game. Look how awesome it looks.
Yeah, for
and I'll just open it up just to show them.
Clank's a good one for that.
Like games are cool, man.
Games are cool.
Yeah.
Games are cool. I think that a difference though is I haven't really looked into the console external hard drive and how easy that is and all that with PS4. And
It just
Xbox
seems
One.
dangerous. It seems scary.
It sounds really easy, but I don't know. I mean, I haven't hit a point where I'm like, oh fuck, this is an issue.
Yeah.
But with something like the Switch, where you are dealing with smaller cards and stuff, I also think that since the Switch is portable for a lot
It
of
all
people,
just stays
and you
in
have
there.
a case, it stays in there. You have the card in there, but then you can also just buy another card and have that full of games. So then you can just switch the cards out, and that's just as easy as popping a physical cartridge in.
Right.
Annoying, another step, but there you go. Now
It
it's
seems less of a
time
pain though.
for reader mail. This comes from Mostly Jason. Now that the X is out, do you think the PS4 Pro will keep being left out on certain features? Games like Mafia 3, Evil Within 2, and Wolfenstein are all adding HDR to the X, but not the Pro. Is this a power issue or a behind the scenes kind of thing? I hope they'll be patched eventually, and this won't become the standard going forward if it's not a power issue. I definitely think that the PS4 Pro is going to get the short end of the stick when it comes to all these enhancements. There will be patches. I do think that these games you mentioned, I'd be shocked if they don't eventually get a patch for the Pro that also does this. But I think that the Xbox is just doing such a better job of marketing it as a better system than the one that you have, that I think even developers are looking at that like, well, consumers are looking at the Xbox One X in a way
As the premium
as a
experience.
premium experience, whereas the PS4 Pro, even though that's the same case, I think that since it's not the world's most powerful console, there's less of a incentive to focus on all of that, right? But I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's weird that for developers to. Obviously, they could probably do this on the PS4, but knowing that the Xbox One X is out there being touted as like the most powerful console, it's a way for them to like want to show off how much prettier their game can be. And in their in their eyes, I see it as a way to just like, look, let's show them what it can really look like. Like this is what it almost looks like this on a PC sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where I think that just gets them involved in Xbox's marketing campaigns in a way that Sony doesn't focus on the PS4 Pro. Like you very rarely hear Sony talk about the Pro as being a pillar of its business model, like in the same way that they tout the PSVR or just PlayStation 4 in general. PS4 Pro just seems more like another option for you to have. Whereas Xbox One X, they're going all in because that's all they got.
Right.
So I think that it behooves a lot of the third-party developers to be like, you know what? Like, let's focus on this, at least for right now.
I do like seeing that some stores are selling out. Like I want Xbox to do good, man. I want them to try to close the gap as much as possible. I want them to succeed. It'll put more pressure on Sony to do awesome shit. And it'll just be a better experience for the consumer.
Hell yes. This question comes from Brandon. Tim and Andy, how different do you think the launch and following months of the Nintendo Switch would have been if they released Mario in March and we got Zelda 2 weeks ago? Love the show. Thank you all.
I don't know, but I keep thinking about like, what if they just delayed Mario until January in terms of like Game of the Year nominations?
The thing is, that stuff almost doesn't matter for people like Nintendo. As long as Nintendo's in the conversation.
Sure.
They're getting what they need out of that conversation. Because who does that conversation actually affect, right? It's the people that can put it on the box and sell a Game of the Year edition of the game. And it's the marketing for games that people might not know about. So when IGN has Dishonored 2 in the conversation for Game of the Year, that makes people go, oh, you know what? Maybe I should try this game. For things like Mario and Zelda, it's like, come on. Like that, if they get the Game of the Year, that Nintendo already gets what they need out of it. I don't think that they really care.
I think more in terms of like having 2 years back to back where they have Game of the Year candidates as opposed to like 2 in 1 year.
Yeah, but I
just as a way to like show off.
The way Game of the Year works in terms of, and again, a Game of the Year is such a weird, ambiguous thing where when we're talking about this, we're really talking about like the IGNs and GameSpots and the people that matter in terms of being able to put something on a box, right? They make a decision. There's an actual voting process. There's actual thought put into this whole thing and discussion and whatever. Because everyone that plays games has their own Game of the Year. But in terms of like stamp of approval, Game of the Year, IGN, it gets hard when games come out too early in the year because you're out of the zeitgeist and you're already to that kind of jaded point where you're looking back on it and there's a new cool hot thing. And in addition to that, you look back at the other thing a little bit more critically.
Sure.
Right? So when you add all that up, I think that the biggest problem Nintendo's probably scared of right now is Zelda and Mario splitting the vote.
Sure.
Because what happens if people at IGN or GameSpot or wherever, Game Informer and all that, half of them vote for Mario, half of them vote, maybe not half, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
A big chunk of them vote for Mario, a big chunk of them vote for Zelda. And then there's just Destiny 2 gets a lot of votes because people like Destiny 2 and just how it all shakes out, that ends up getting more. I think that would be Nintendo's biggest fear right now.
Yeah, sure. So he's asking, what if the titles were swapped? I don't think we'd see a whole lot of difference. The Mario has a bigger name. If anything, the console just would have sold out more, and it would be even harder to get somehow. Like the Mario has more of a name to it, right? Mm-hmm. People recognize Mario more, and especially if the word got out that the Switch is about to launch, the new Mario game that's launching with it is a fucking 10 out of 10, one of the best games that's come out in the last like 5 years or whatever. I think. The Switch already, people have trouble keeping it in stock already. Like, I don't really think it would change a whole lot. I don't think it would change a whole lot.
You're making good points. My thing is, I think that how it happened was the right way to go because of what you're saying. I think that there being more Switches in the wild helps Mario in a way that I don't think it would have helped Zelda. Zelda coming out at launch, people know Mario. People know Zelda too. But Mario sells. Zelda doesn't necessarily sell in that same type of way. So for them to know that we have limited consoles and for the attach rate to be as good as it is, I think it was more important for Nintendo to come out with a more hardcore game. If it just came out with Mario, I think there would have been a lot more, it's more Mario. And of course, everyone loves Mario and Odyssey's amazing. But I think that Zelda being how different it was, it not only won over the Nintendo people that were already sold on the Switch, I think it sold a lot of other people that were like, oh shit, this is a new Nintendo.
I need to pay attention to this.
I need to pay attention to this. There is a real hardcore game launching with the Switch, and there's a Mario coming. So I think that they made the right call. You're right. At the end of the day, they sold out, so it almost doesn't matter. But I think that in the long run, this is the best plan because more copies of Mario are being sold. I don't think Mario would have... Mario in its first 2 days sold 4 point whatever million copies. It wouldn't have been able to even do that if it launched with the system.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I don't think Zelda would have sold that much in the same time period 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, there's more availability now.
Question from Jamie.
Hey,
more
Jamie.
Nintendo stuff. 2017 has been the Nintendo year of dreams. We got a new console and a game of the year worthy Zelda and Mario. It was the shot in the arm Nintendo so desperately needed, but it's going to be a very long time before we see another Zelda or Mario. Are you worried that Nintendo blew its load in 2017? My thing is, no. It's kind of crazy to think that we did get a brand new, proper, mind-blowing Zelda and Mario this year. And we also got a Mario Kart port, which means we're probably not going to see another Mario Kart for at least 2 or 3 years, right? I'll probably imagine that'll be like a 2019, 2020 game. There's still a lot coming out. What we know about 2018 is we're getting a Yoshi game, we're getting a Kirby game, we're getting a Fire Emblem game. And those are all...
And a Smash game.
Well, we don't know that.
No,
but
I know that.
You too? You know that? Yeah, those hot fucking secrets.
I fucking know it, dude.
Yeah. But those games are just kind of like the padding, right? Like their quality's probably going to be
Splatoon 2
high, and we got Splatoon 2 as well.
Yeah, hell yeah, we did.
But you look at next year and you're like, all right, if they manage to get Pokemon out, that's going to be freaking huge. I don't know. I don't know how far along that is. I kind of doubt it. Pokemon seems a bit more of a 2019 type of game. Metroid, cool. There's that. But my thing with Mario and Zelda about blowing the load, the secret to Nintendo's success now is that they're no longer making a home console and a portable console system, which means what we've typically thought as, oh, we'll get the 2D Zelda, 2D Mario on handhelds and then the 3D on consoles, which I know the last couple of generations and years, there's been a little bit of mix and match here and there.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is there was always a 2D line and a 3D line. And in some cases, a third option, like with Mario, with the 3D land, 3D world style gameplay. We're also going to get those games. Then you also add in things like Mario Maker. we're also going to get those games. So even though we're probably not going to see another huge 3D Mario game for a while, I very much believe we're going to get an Odyssey 2.
Yeah, sure.
In the way that we got Galaxy and Galaxy 2. But there's ports that they can do, and I feel like that is exciting because there's so many great games that people want to play again for Nintendo. If they put out a Galaxy 1 and 2 package, people would love it. They put out 3D Worlds and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
I want 3D World so
people
bad.
Would fucking love it.
There's so many games on Wii U that nobody played because nobody played Wii U that like just never saw. They never got the like attention that they deserved because that console was just not great.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, 3D World is a game that I think would just work so perfectly on a Switch with up to 4 Joy-Cons or 4 Pros or whatever. It just needs to happen. I want that game so bad.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be great. But in terms of 2018 gets a little bit iffy because we don't know what they're working on right now. We don't know how far along some of the big guns are. But in terms of blowing their load, yeah, Mario and Zelda are big, but 2D Mario is bigger. 2D Zelda is not necessarily bigger, but that exists. Pokemon is way bigger. Metroid, not bigger, but it's the right time for it. Smash Brothers, obviously, is a huge seller for them. So I think they still do have a lot to kind of lean on and bank on in terms of the roadmap, and then it'll hit a point where they get to do it again.
Do you think we'll see Odyssey DLC in the way that we're seeing Zelda?
I do. It's the one thing that kind of worries me about it is that we knew we were getting Zelda DLC before Zelda
and they
came
didn't
out,
mention that. Yeah, they didn't.
And they
mention
haven't mentioned it for Mario. I don't want to spoil anything, but like there's very clear DLC that they should have, and I think that it's gonna happen. It'd be kind of crazy for them to not have extra shit to sell for a game that people love so much and has already sold so many copies, you know? But we'll see. Where do I want to go?
I've got a piece so bad.
Do you?
Yeah, but I can wait. I'm going to wait it out.
Okay. AdamNorthWest says, what's the deal with Sonic Team? Hi, Tim and Andy. The Sonic Forces reviews and they're not good. Out of curiosity, I went to GameRankings.com to see how Sonic titles are usually received and was surprised to find that Sonic Mania, which is by all means a fan game, is the best reviewed Sonic title of the modern era. Now, to be fair about that, like technically it was made by fans, but the fans were hired by Sega, so it's not really like it's not a fan game.
A lot of stuff was remade as well.
Yeah. When I looked at all of the Sonic Team's offerings alone, very few of them were received well. The original adventure titles, Generations, and Colors were the only ones I saw above a 75% rating, while titles like Unleashed, Sonic and the Black Knight, and the infamous Sonic 2006 were far below that. Why can't Sonic Team seem to make Sonic work? How are they still making Sonic games when more often than not their games are poorly received? Why can fans make better games than the developer? Thanks for your consideration. Well, why can fans make better games than the developers? Because they care and they know what they want actually out of the games. So that's the answer there.
Yeah.
In addition to that, the Sonic team that made all the 3D games is very different than the Sonic team that made the original Genesis games. And even if they were literally the same people, they're in very different places in their lives with very different understandings of how things go. Why they keep making Sonic games? Sonic games sell very well. They at least most of the ones you named. Will Forces sell well? We'll have to wait and see. Some of the last couple Sonic games haven't sold well, but there's usually reasons for that. Sonic Lost World on Wii U didn't sell because it's on the Wii U. You know, it's like there's always like something you can lean to it. Sonic Boom was Sonic Boom. Like that was a TV cash-in Sonic game, not the proper Sonic game that people were expecting. But yeah, Forces, I don't know, man. It's bad. And Sonic Forces is absolutely the culmination of the Sonic fandom in video game form, where it's just like, all right, cool. There's fans of adventure. There's fans of all these other things. There's a lot of DeviantArt people. We're gonna give them an original character. They can make whoever they want. We're gonna put all the bad guys together, and we're gonna just, you know, people like Generations. We're gonna double down on that. And it's just like it just seems like a bunch of ideas that don't actually work together being thrown into one package.
I think of young Andy as a fan. I was into like Sonic and stuff, right? And I think of young kids now who are into Sonic Boom, and Sonic Boom has a huge fan base.
The TV show, yeah.
Yeah. And imagine being a young kid knowing that there's this new Sonic game out called Sonic Forces, and you can create your own character. That's like my fucking dream. That was like my dream as a kid, to have my own character play and live in these worlds. That's why they're going to keep making these games, because they're going to sell well, even if they're not, you know, necessarily critically acclaimed or whatever. But That's why they're going to keep making them, because they're making money on them.
Yeah.
And
I wonder about Forces, though. We'll see. I'm very interested to see the sales numbers, especially on the Switch, because you'd think that with the adoption rate of games to systems sold on Switch, everything's been killing it. Like Sonic Forces could be the one that doesn't.
That just looks really shitty on their on their long list of games. I'm looking for Sonic Boom sales. Oh God! Well, I guess maybe I was way off. looks like Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric sold 300,000 copies.
Yeah, which is
So,
not
great.
to write home about. But
I was
was
wrong
that
about
just the Wii U one?
That's a Wii U one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, now it's time to squad up.
Fire and Ice even less.
Yeah, Fire and Ice was the
230,000.
3DS one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This comes from Evans, aka PupppyMilk, which is disgusting.
It's a pretty gross name.
He's playing on the Switch. He says, I've had a Switch for 5 months and I don't have 0 goddamn friends. I don't want to play with anyone, but damn it, I just want to see what others are playing. I just want to be in a Nintendo community. I'm all alone over here.
Be his friend, guys.
He leaves his friend code.
Come on.
So for anyone interested, type in friend code SW dash 0346 dash 411 1. So 3 ones.
4111
dash 8438.
Let me read that one more time for the kids out there. 0346 4111 8438. Be his friend, guys. Come on. Mijito, let him have friends.
Mijito. Now it's time for You're Wrong. Andy. You know what? I'll pull it up. You seem...
I can bring it up, dog.
Okay, whoever gets it first.
Well, you've probably entered that website more recently than I have. You got there before me, didn't you?
I did.
You
All right, let's see. Here we go. But where are
Old
the
Snake
dates?
19? Oh, no, that's November.
Yeah, there's a lot of old ones here.
I'm going to page 3, Tim. I got it, dog. Don't you worry about this. One bit.
Okay.
From Scjrier on November 10th today.
Zykes.
Before Games Daily, Andy said, I will not wear a tie. Andy was wrong. He wore a tie. Looks nice.
Okay.
Thank you, Scjrier. I appreciate it.
That's true.
Another one from Capitalist Pig says, Respawn Star Wars game is being advertised as an action-adventure, according to Respawn's official site.
Okay.
Respawn is collaborating with Lucasfilm and EA to develop a brand new action-adventure game set in the Star Wars universe. And this, from creative director Stig Asmussen, will be making a third-person action-adventure game. Okay, so just repeating sort of some stuff. Thank you, Capitalist Pig.
Capitalist Pig.
Capitalist Pig also says, Episode 1 of Up at Noon featured Glenn Schofield of Sledgehammer Games. He was not a part of either Infinity Ward nor Respawn. He was, however, one of the big brains behind Visceral when they made Dead Space to somewhat tie it all together.
That is absolutely
Interesting.
correct. We did have Vince at some point, but you're correct about that.
Ghost Chiz22, CHZ22 says, Tim stated that The Last of Us debut announcement happened at the Game Awards, but it actually debuted on the Video Game Awards, which is a Spike TV awards show, not Jeff Keighley's show, which didn't start until 2014. The technicality, I suppose, but an important distinction since they're both quite different shows. I remember that show. There was no crowd. It's kind of weird. That's the first time we saw No Man's Sky, that Spike TV one.
Yeah.
Very weird.
It was still Keighley's show. Keighley produced it.
Right.
Someone paid him to do it, but it was still Keighley's show. But you're right, technically.
Capitalist Pig. Andy's feeling about handheld docked percentages. Primarily, Switch docked is in the minority, according to Nintendo's financial fiscal year. About 20% use it docked primarily, 30 use it handheld primarily, 50 use it interchangeably. Mars Wanderer says, hey, Tim and Andy, I want you to let you know that Best Buy and GameStop are currently having sales. Oh, it's just sort of a sales thing, I guess. Thanks, Mars Wanderer, letting us know that the Horizon Zero Dawn's on sale and shit. And finally, Awesomastic says, on the conversation of Mario and Zelda possibly splitting the vote in Game of the Year, Parrot IGN addressed this on Nintendo Voice Chat, where he said that IGN gives awards. In the way that IGN gives awards is in a point-based system, which means that in the situation, Mario and Zelda would either be on the voted first or second position, meaning that they would still be receiving more votes than other games if that's the case. But that's only IGN, of course. Other outlets may be using other methods. I'm a better reader than Nick. I'm going to say that right now. Thank you for all the your wrong submissions. Thank you, awesome.
Thank you very much, and Andy. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you,
Kevin,
Timothy.
Thank you for running the show while you sit there playing Nintendo Switch. What you playing? Mario Odyssey?
Hell yeah!
How many moons you got, Big Kev Dog?
Oh, like 200 something.
200
Did we
something
get
moons.
who did time codes?
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah,
Kev did
Kevin's
time
on
codes.
it. Kevin's
Big Kev
on it.
Dog.
I'm gonna take off my tie. Well, let me tie
You
it
can go
first.
pee-pee, mijito.
Tied my tie first. Looks good. We had a good show.
Bye, guys.